Nothing's excluded. No.
Today is the 28th day of Tishrei, the 30th of October, and we're in chapter 24, towards the end of Shorish Mitzvah Satfila and Derech Mitzvah Secha. Okay, so where are we holding? Oh, we talked about the Makifim Avima. Talked about the surrounding lights of the mother. But we said that that's the way that most of us get our our parable about life, our metaphors about life. We get them from our parents. Because the Tiferet, the beauty, the spirit of Tiferet of the mother becomes the crown of Zer Anpin, of the small countenance. And those are like the emotive sfirot. Ela shelemata naaseh masach mitachat raglei zun. But below, it becomes a curtain under the feet of Zun. So what's it talking about here? Here it's talking about the mother and the Zun inside of emanation. Within Atzilus, the mother is the sphere of Bina, the understanding, and the Zun is the motive sphirot. It's the easiest way to think of it. It's just because most people know sphirot, they don't know partzufim, so it's easier to just say it this way. And it encircles these lights that come out of Ima, they encircle Zun. Zun is all the way from Chesed to Malchus. So it encircles everything. And under the feet of Zun, underneath their feet, which is their lowest part, their kingdom, it becomes a curtain. This light that emanates from the mother. והטעם כי באמת שורש המסך גבוה מאוד, שלכן יש בו הכוח להסתיר ולהעלים על אורות וכלים דזה. So he says, and again, the reason is, why does this become a curtain? Because it came from a very high place. So something that comes from a very high place and comes down, it thickens as it comes down, and when it reaches the bottom, it's already like a curtain. Until when it was at its source, it was revealing, because again, the idea is that it was some kind of a very high energy. When it descended all the way down to the end of the world of Atzilus, the end of the highest world, the world of emanation, then it became a curtain. It thickens when it reaches there. And that makes it possible for it to act like a curtain, like we said a curtain does. You put a curtain on your blinds, you put them on the window so that the sunlight doesn't come in. So this allows us below, we who are below the world of emanation, so we have some kind of barrier that we don't have to completely feel overwhelmed by the light of the world of emanation. So it's like, I was watching, sometimes things pop up on YouTube, on Facebook. I was watching this Christian theologian who doesn't speak very much Christianity, it just talks theology. And it was considered to be like spontaneous, but I don't think it was spontaneous. He was explaining to some guy why he believes in God. And so all the answers that he gave were that he has a certain experience. He has experience of love. That's very Christian.
It's an internal.
Right. Of course.
It's the same way.
Okay, because it became.
It's nice to sit with the family.
Okay, all these things. I'm not putting it down. Just saying that the moment you say love, that's very Christian. In any case, so his last argument was that you can't be agnostic. Nobody's agnostic. Agnostic means I don't have to make up my mind. I can live without knowing whether God exists or not. And he said he can't accept that. Why? Because nobody can live that way. In practice, everybody has to decide. You can't live in a state of agnosticism. You can live in a state of agnosticism.
You mean if you're in a trench?
I don't know.
You mean if you're in a trench?
No, you didn't mean in a trench. Ken. Oh, right. So we'll get to that in a second.
Why can't you live in a state
I don't know. Agnostic means I don't know.
Why can't one live in
זה
that state?
פטנט
I
של
did.
כולם.
Wait, hold
Or I
on.
thought I did.
So he says,
God forbid. But I mean, yeah.
No, that- he says, in real life, you can't live without belief. You have to believe in something. To say agnosticism, he says, is like living without belief. He says you can't do that. Every person has to believe in something. You
That
believe in
becomes
yourself.
That becomes a belief in itself.
No, that in itself might be a belief.
Yeah,
but
that was
it
how
says
I-
that you have to believe in something. You believe in yourself. You believe in what your parents
I see
told
what
you.
you're
You
saying.
believe
Yeah,
in
yeah,
something.
yeah,
You
you
can't.
believe in something.
You don't
Yes,
need a
yes.
trench for it. You just need to live.
Yeah, right.
And the moment you live, we don't know everything. So the fact that we don't know means we have to make up our minds about things that we don't know. So you can't be agnostic.
But you go to the doctor the same way. You go to the doctor, he gives you medicine. Let me go to school first to know if the medicine is good.
Okay. You have to believe him. You have to believe him. How is that related exactly to godliness? I don't know. I don't know why he connected the two things. I don't understand exactly what his argument was. But we can use this very well, because the whole idea here is to say that the reason we can even trick ourselves into thinking that we don't have to make up our minds about God is because of this curtain. This curtain allows us to live segregated from the world of emanation. It allows us to live here where we are. Now,
Is it free will, in a sense?
it allows free will,
It
but
allows
it's
free
not
will.
just free will. You would have free will anyway. It's not like God impinges upon your free will.
Okay.
You still have to make up your mind, even if you believe in God.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people who believe in God and act terribly.
Yeah, right.
It's very common. In fact, I'm one of them. So it's not such a big deal. What it really is a question is about what's in your consciousness. Do you have to think about your godly origin all the time or not? Right? This is like, if somebody looks at it, this is the essence of chapter 10 in Job. He says most people, they say they believe, but they don't know God. They believe in God, but they don't know God. The difference is, to believe is to say, once in a while I'll come visit. Kemunah. To know that oreta ladat, that's the whole purpose of Chassidus, is to transform it from a faith into a knowledge. And knowledge means consciousness. That the person's constantly conscious, as much as he can. Not every person is in the world of emanation. If you're in the world of emanation, every step you take, you're aware of godliness. If you're in the world of creation, far less. In the world of formation, even less. In the world of action, even less. Then you come down into the worlds of the klipa, of the husks. And there's no light gets in. It's like going to the bottom of the ocean. There's so much water in between you and the sun that nothing gets in. There's no sunlight at all. It's completely pitch dark. And we have to understand that there's people who are living in pitch dark. Completely darkness. They have even if they believe, they're still in darkness. Meaning, what is for them a belief? That somebody told them once in church and synagogue and Sunday school and whatever, they told them there's such a thing called God and so on and so forth, and he gave a Torah, he gave commandments, whatever it is. But that doesn't mean anything day to day. And certainly not when they're running around doing what they're doing. They have no consciousness of it. So that's what this curtain allows us to do. It allows us to live as it were in darkness. Same thing when a person goes to sleep and it's still light outside, not like now when it becomes dark at 5 p.m., but in the summer, and especially in the northern regions of the world, so at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, it's still daylight outside. So you have to have very heavy curtains to allow you to sleep, to let you sleep. Today there's even, there's light outside from the street lights and from other things also. It's called light pollution. So you need curtains in order to function, but you don't need such a thick curtain. The curtain between the world of emanation and the world of creation is not that thick, meaning you don't live in complete darkness, but it allows your thought to function independently. You don't have to think, most people don't think all the time, so what would Hashem say if I did this or this? Like they don't have that consciousness. A tzaddik has that consciousness. He can't remove that from his mind. He's living in daylight all the time. There's no curtain for him. He's somewhere else. Okay. So this all happens because this very high light from Ima descends down beneath the feet of Zun in the world of emanation and becomes a curtain. וכמו בגשמיות שהמשל נמשך מעומק החוכמה דווקא. וכמו שאמרו, משמת רבי מאיר בטלו מושלי משלים. And that's like what we say, that the meaning of the parable, the meaning of the metaphor, what's hiding inside is from one level, but the metaphor itself comes from an even higher level. This we said last time. And this is, he says, there's the same idea in the Talmud. In the Talmud, and at the end of Sota, I think, it says that from the time so and so died, there was no more of this, no more of that. It's a very interesting thing that we don't see, people don't see the world this way. But if you have historical consciousness, then you see, and we've talked about this a lot, we said that in the time of the temple, they didn't have to learn the parable from anyone. The parable was in the air, it was thick in the air. You didn't have to actually learn from your parents. It was there. And slowly began to deteriorate, and slowly began to disappear. So there are also things like this, not just in the world, but in souls. There are certain souls that come in a certain time. And during the time of the writing of the Mishnah, of the Talmud, there were different souls in the world. Completely different than the ones we have now. And they had other abilities that we don't have. So the Talmud says from the time that Rabbi Meir was one of the sages of the Mishnah, he's not just a sage of the Mishnah, he's the sage who was the teacher in many ways. He had two teachers, of Rebbe who wrote the Mishnah. He had two teachers. One was Rabbi Meir and the other one was Rashbi. These were his two main teachers. So Rabbi Meir, he's also a convert. It's very interesting. He's one of the converts, like Rabbi Akiva. And it says that when he passed away, Batlu Moshlei Meshalim, came the end of the era of the aphorism, of the parable. There were no longer parables of the same stature as there were in his time. It says that he had 300. Solomon had 3,000. It says that he had 300 Meshalim. They call them Mishlei Shualim. Mishlei Shualim are like Aesop's stories about foxes. That was just on foxes. He had 300, and every single topic you would tell him, he had 300. Solomon had 3,000 on every single topic. He had 300. הרי דווקא רבי מאיר שהיה יחיד בדורו הוא שיכול למשול משלים. וכן בשלמה כתיב משלי שלמה לפי שהיה חכם מכל האדם. Both of these, Meir, why is he called Meir? Because he's light, and light is always wisdom. So he says the ability to write a parable, to write an aphorism, this all comes from wisdom, which is even higher than Bina. It's even higher than the mother principle. And the same thing was about Solomon, that he's also the wisest of all men. And only the people who are wise can write a very exact one-to-one corresponding aphorism. The point is to have everything in place. Meaning the more you think about it, the more you discover. Everybody can say an aphorism, everybody can say a parable. It's not very difficult. But the question is whether it's mechuvan, we call it, whether it's exact, whether it hits the dot on every single aspect that you want to have. וכך יובן למעלה ששורש המסך שיהיה השפעה על ידי אלם ואסתר נמשך ממקום גבוה יותר מהמידות עצמן. Likewise, the curtain that separates the world of emanation from the three lower worlds comes from a much higher place than Zun, than the midos, the emotive sfirot of the world of emanation itself. וזהו שמיים תכין אמונתך בהם. פירוש, אמונתך הוא בחינת מלכות היורדת בביאה להחיותן מאין ליש, ועל ידי שמיים שמקיפים עליונים שמהם נעשית הפרסה תכין אמונתך, שיהיה התהוות מאין ליש על ידי אסתר ואלם. So there's this verse, it says, שמיים תכין אמונתך בהם. With the heavens you prepare faith in them. What does it mean? It means that faith, he says, this is usually the way it is in the Zohar. In the Zohar, faith is kingdom, is malchus. It's interesting why. Why is in the Zohar Ihi Emunah? Right. There's all kinds of explanations of why. Because we've been indoctrinated already to think that Emunah is in the Keter. But if you ask any Mekubal in the world, they'll look at you very strange if you say that. Keter has nothing to do with Emunah. They'll say Emunah is in Malchus. That's how it's in the Zohar, countless times. So anyway, this is meant to give you faith. Obviously, this is a different type of faith. This is not the faith that is intrinsic to the person. This is a faith that the person learns. So this is why it's different, at least according to Chassidus. It's a different type of faith. It's not a power in the soul. It's something that you're taught, that's given to you. So this is like faith that's learned. So where does it come from, this faith? From the Shemaim, from the heavens. Heavens is relative. In the world of emanation, the heavens is the wisdom. And it allows the kingdom to descend and prepare a world where it's possible to believe in God. Why believe? Why not know God? Because we said that in the three lower worlds there's no knowledge. There's only faith. You have to have faith beyond the curtain. That behind the curtain there lies a wizard. There is someone there pulling the strings. It's not just happening by itself. Okay. Validation. That's right. So what Gabi is saying is that there's different meanings to this word emunah. So one of them is oman. Oman is a person who is well versed, who is a master in his uman. And like you say a maven, a mumche. So someone who's like that, it's not because it's not talent, it's practice. He's an uman because he has a lot of experience. Litamen is to have experience. He has something. He must have something. There must be a little bit of light. Like
it's developed. It's not
right. And of course, it has to be in the chush that he has, in the sense that he has. Shehem makifim olunim shemehem nasa parsa tachin emunatcha she'ei tavut me'ayin leyesh al yedei ester ve'elem. And this is all what allows us to feel something from nothing, being from nothing. And again, the nothing doesn't mean that there's nothing upstairs. On the contrary, everything is upstairs. The point is that I don't see the upstairs. I don't even see the stairwell. I don't see even where you start the first step. It's all hidden to me. So for me, it looks like the world comes something out of nothing. וזה נעשה על ידי התערות הדלתתא דבעל תשובה בבחינת בכל מאודיך. בלי גבול, מבחינת יחידה שבנפש, שנגעת נפשו ממש מצד הריחוק. And what is this? Who feels even who even has this experience that I'm something from nothing? I'm not talking about now about nothing that he doesn't know that he has an origin. Who has the feeling that there is an upstairs, but there's nothing there? I can't perceive it in the right way. I didn't say right. Who has an experience that there is an upstairs, but I can't get anything out of it? I don't know what's there. It's completely hidden from me. Who has this? Only a Baal Tshuva, he says. Only somebody who has been distant and now realizes there's something there. Then they have a feeling of longing. And that feeling of longing is called Bechol Modecha. It breaks down all the barriers. And so the feeling inside is that I'm very distant from my source. That's the feeling to have. That's an incredible feeling. If the person feels I have no source, okay, so he's not about tshuva yet. He doesn't know anything about where he's situated in the worlds. For him, the only world that exists is the one he's in. He has no perspective. He has no knowledge that there's something above him. He doesn't know. It's like a child who doesn't believe he came from his mother. He doesn't care. It's not interesting. Later in life, people begin to ask, so where did my parents come from? What did they believe in? Who were they? They start doing genealogy trees. It's probably, they try every year to teach 10-year-olds or 5th graders or 6th graders to do a genealogy tree. They could care about the genealogy tree like I care about a hole in the wall right now. It doesn't mean anything to a young person because why would I care? It doesn't exist. It's not, oh, I'm so disinformed, I wish I knew something about it. I don't care because I live in my world right now. At some point, the person becomes connected to his past. And when he begins to become connected to his past, that's the tshuva. That's the returning to his source. He wants to return to his source. It's sort of like salmon, that they only return to their source when they're fully mature. They can't, because really, the truth is, you can't handle it when you're a child. If you were connected to your source as a child, you'd have to be a very special person to still be independent. You would be swallowed up. But now that you're a mature adult and you have your life and so on, now you're interested. So what was there? What's hiding behind the curtain? שעל ידי זה מעורר גם כן למעלה מקיפים עלילים להיות השמיים כיסי, כמו שכתוב באריכות, הפסוק השמיים כיסי, בעזרת השם יתברך. And when a person has this longing, this is the most important part, then he receives new makifim all the time. This is one of the most important. We don't have time to do this justice, and he doesn't really talk about it here, I think. I don't remember that he does. This is discussed elsewhere. This whole process of how do you receive new revelation. So we talked about new revelation all the time. We said that when you say Shema, you're going up to a place where there's no perception. But there we said it's a place where nobody can perceive. It doesn't matter how much. But there's longing. The longing itself brings something new down. Here, your longing is to something that you even know exists. It's like your parents' background. You know it's there. You just haven't discovered it. So that brings down new information. That brings down a new parable, a new understanding, a new way, and it allows you, it's like it gives you a new garment with which you can enter these worlds. And that's the whole purpose. The longing creates the garment with which the person can ascend. If there's no longing, there's no garment. Except that once in a while, like we have with Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdishav's parable, on the Shabbos Chazon, the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av, Hashem shows you the garment even if you don't long for it. Sometimes Hashem is nice to you. He shows you get the makif before you get the pnimi. But in general, you have to have longing. Longing is a feeling that I want a makif. You don't long for the pnimi. You long for the pnimi, but the longing is what awakens the makif. It awakens new garment that can allow you then to receive new light. It's sort of like you have to watch certain cooking classes to know you need a certain tool. If you don't watch people using it, if you don't have some longing for it, if you don't will for it, then you can't go into the store and buy. You don't know what it does. You have to first of all see what it does. You have to have a longing for what it does. Anyway, this needs to be explored a lot more. I'll leave it here.
It's advertising.